Worldview.
Frustrating, I suppose, is especially as, raising a family, raising a kid, is when I look back and I look at the men and women who prioritize these values, regardless of the fact that their life was full of sin, and I see them doing things they shouldn't do, but the people who most likened these values, I see blessing. I just consistently see it. To the couple walking in the park, all the way up to nations, I have seen that has been the case. So it's almost to me like we have more than enough evidence.
Well, the blessings sometimes, the blessings that we talked about, the lovers holding hands, right? To a lot of people, that's not what they want. You know what I mean? They don't think that's what they want. And that might be cliche or sticky. You know what I'm saying? They might not want that. Like today, my sister-in-law, just a few minutes ago, right? She was saying she thinks this guy named The Game, this rapper, the name The Game, right? It's this beautiful, fascinating man. I said, do you see this guy? He's got tattoos all over his face. He looks like he bust out of the federal penitentiary. What are you talking about? This guy is beautiful. I don't know The Game. I'm not saying he's a bad man. I don't know who he is. But I'm just saying, if this is the image of a man in which you are attracted to, what do you value in a man? What do you value in a woman? What do you value in yourself? One point that I wanted to bring back up that you had mentioned that was really good, man, that it is so important for us to know the word ourselves, man. Read the Bible. I agree. I'll try to have conversations with people about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and I'll say, what did you get from this? And all they can do is regurgitate, talking points that their pastor has told you. Your pastor is your teacher. You know what I'm saying? He's a teacher. He's there to introduce you to something that you're supposed to go beyond and study for yourself, just like the teacher at your school. See, they give you work in school, but they don't have enough time just in school. They got to go home at a certain point to give you homework. In fact, my book that I'm working on right now that it's been pouring out of me, it's called The Student of Life. And it's a guidebook for people who, who just want to get the maximum out of life, man, who want to maximize their life experience.
What a cool gift. What a cool gift to even give to your children. You know what I mean?
It's there in the back of my mind when I'm writing it. It's about addressing what we can confirm as truth. It's addressing the truth. And a lot of our education has been distorted, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It's plain truth. By like they call it political correctness, a lot of things has been hidden and taken out and watered down. And I believe that it's been so watered down, people don't even know how to recognize the truth anymore.
You're exactly right about this, because if you believe in the value of truth, then you won't fear it. But I mean, even God's word tells you about that. Look, I mean, even in our own lives, everybody knows what this feels like, You want to run from the truth. You're afraid of it. You're afraid of what it's going to do. But it's always the best thing to be truthful, because it sets you free. It truly does set you free. You want to live in the bondage of lies. I think this nation is so steeped in that, so steeped in lies that they don't even know what to do. They're so afraid of everything. They're afraid of each other. They're afraid that nobody believes in the system anymore. It's simple, but it's not simplistic. Rather, it's just because we will not tell each other the truth. Like Rendell, a lot of times when I put our conversations online on my show, the response is similar in tone and language when I get responses. And most of the time, what they're interested in about it. We're talking about all these different subjects, but what they're interested in is two men who don't look like each other are just telling each other the truth. And, that in and of itself has become a commodity today, because even though people are afraid of it, and even though politicians will literally dive and say it, it's an infectious thing. It is like a moth to flame thing.
I've been following Dr. Ben Carlson, right, for a little bit. Actually, ever since you kind of brought him to my attention a couple years ago in 2012, I think it was.
Right.
He just made a comment that, some people took controversial, which was that basically Islam is not compatible with the Constitution.
Right.
Now, I'm going to tell you what kind of effect that had on me. I went and read the Constitution. For the first time, man. You know what I'm saying? For the first time,
exactly.
I went and read the Constitution. So what this doctor did was educate us. in a sense.
He said, and, the media's not telling anybody about this. You know how I feel about the media, but he said, look, anybody, no matter what religion, if they're going to put the Constitution and the law of the land first, then I can get on board with that. But I've been in the Muslim world, and the Sharia law is a theocracy. And we can't have a theocracy in the United States of America. I mean, that's just not compatible.
Yeah, absolutely not. And you want to tell other women that just got, they're wearing leggings and they're used to being free. Now that they got to cover up, man, that's not going to work well. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And by the way, does it matter to anybody that as we speak to each other, as Ben Carson says that, you have millions and millions of families and children and women that are fleeing from their lives. They're fleeing from Sharia society. The Black Flag of ISIS, for example, everywhere they are, they implement Sharia. You can read it. You can read it for yourself.
But
my point is, I think there is evidence that these societies are not exactly working. And certainly they're not working in any sense that the West would ever accept.
Even Gaddafi wrote a book, the Green Book. He was breaking down democracy and his concept of how a country should be managed and ran. And even he said that when you have sectarian differences, when you have tribal differences, it's very difficult to run, a society that is torn over deep religious values.
Right,
Just like we said about our church. If we said it's the same thing we're seeing right now, but just imagine if it was religiously.
Well, imagine if politics was religion right now and how divided we are. People would be killing each other.
Yeah, they would be beheading people who are gay, right? They would be right now. It would be.
By the way, they are doing that, man. They're doing that right now in the Middle East. They're throwing them off of buildings. They're cutting off their heads. They're drowning them. I don't know why the media's not telling people that. They're doing it. ISIS is doing that. It's happening all over the world, man. It's happening all over the world, man. It's happened.
Africa has a very low tolerance for homosexuality. I think Russia has a low tolerance. I mean, it is. And I was actually just thinking about that issue myself, and I'm really trying to say, okay, how would God, what is the way that we all coexist? I just encountered a documentary on Buju Banton, who was a dancehall reggae artist that was, he was like going to be the next Bob Marley, and he spoke out publicly against homosexuality. He said that God said be fruitful, and you cannot be fruitful unless you're a man and a woman, come to a woman. So, man, when he did that, the gay community, they took an official stance, and they brought this brother down. He's serving 10 years in prison right now.
I have actually been doing a lot of thinking about it, too, and I think the sin of homosexuality is a little bit unique, too, because I think it's been used personally, and this is just because we're Christians. I'm just going to tell you, and I don't know this for sure, but I think it's being used very uniquely by the darkness to do some very destructive things. But nonetheless,
I think so too.
The issue of homosexuality, one of the things that I'm very frustrated with, that it never gets brought up, and I think I only feel this way because I saw it such firsthand. But Rendell, I was living with a fellow model, and he was gay, and there were all these gay guys. The majority of these guys were gay, and they were my age, and I'm a pretty amiable guy, and I've always gotten along with people, and I mean, I didn't agree with any of them. And what was cool about our relationship was they knew exactly where I stood. They knew about my faith. They knew what I felt. But after that was over with, I just laughed with them, became friends with them. I've never had a problem doing that with any walk of life. What I did see, man, was I saw how this ravaged their life, and the media never tells them. So my point is, if you love people, I am telling you right now firsthand, they tore up their bodies. A lot of these guys were wearing colostrophe bags when they were in their 30s. They were addicted to drugs in ways I have never seen. They were depressed.
Yeah, because they're dealing with something on the inside, man.
Yes, man.
And a lot of times it's rooted in their fathers, man, and their parents.
We know what would happen if our daughters or sons had like 100 partners in a year, right? No matter how you feel about, abstinence, most parents wouldn't think that was a great idea. And a lot of the reason is because your self-worth and a lot of your emotions and even your physicality in disease and everything, it's all wrapped up in your mind, body, and soul. Those things can't be separated, right? Well, what people don't realize about the homosexual community is it is extremely seedy. The media doesn't tell you that, but it is extremely seedy. And these people, their self-worth, their ego, the way they see themselves, the way they see other people, it is very affected in ways that the media is not telling you. So when your children are dabbling with this stuff, they don't even realize what they're getting into, and they don't even realize what they're sacrificing.
Well, right now in America, it's an agenda to normalize the homosexuality, and that's the thing, that agenda that Obama, and that's the thing I oppose. The way Obama has done it, I am for human rights, man. I do believe
So am I in America.
But I think, by number one, by saying that 2 men and 2 women can be married, is to say that, this
marriage is nothing.
This is sacred. Marriage is sacred. Marriage is something that you ordained before God. So you're saying that this is something that God ordained.
To Barack Obama's credit, when he ran, he said that exact thing. He said it just like you said it. He said marriage is sacred. He said God is in the mix. He said when a man and woman come together under God, God is a part of it, and that is why it's sacred.
Yeah.
So he was right about that, and he understood that.
Yeah,
I think it was politics.
It is politics, and that's the thing I'm about to go. The positive thing that I think the black community and all communities can take away from the gay community is they are an official community. They get things done. They get things done. They support each other. They come out. You know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say is they have power in legislation. They got power in judicial. They are a united people, and they're not even connected by a race.
I thought about this a lot because I know what you're going to say, and it's almost like nobody in the American history has been able to get more done with fewer people. Like, even though gays in our face all the time, the actual number of gays in the country isn't that many. I mean, if you look at the stats, it's not that many. You might think it is, but it really isn't. That's one of the great lies. I mean, it's really like 2-3% of the population, and that's the consensus. Now, I mean, that's assuming that everybody's gay, is telling you they're gay. But let's say it's like even 5 or 6 or 7%. That's not many. The African American population is 22%. But here's what's interesting about it. I don't know, though, Rondell, if that's a good model, because what the gays have begun to do in this nation, in my opinion, is very un-American. Like, they're becoming almost like fascistic. They'll run you out of business. They'll destroy you.
Oh, yeah.
When is that American? That's not American.
That's all I was saying. That's what they did to Baji Bonte, man. They put that man out.
That's not right. That's not right, man. You can disagree with somebody without destroying them as a human being. I mean, I would never do that to somebody.
So
I think Christians are for something. I think we're for loving those people because I know because I've seen it, Rondell. If they indulge in that, I'm not loving that person. I don't care what the media says. If I encourage homosexuality in that light, it will leave them hollow and empty and destroyed.
What if it's their choice, man?
I do believe in their freedom to do it. I believe in their human rights to choose to live their life however they want to. But if they're a friend of mine and I encourage that lifestyle, I really believe I'm doing something wrong because I would never do that to my kid. I would never do that to my friend. I would never, if I knew my friend was running into, a crack house and he was about to sleep with disease-infected women, but I can't stop him. That's the difference.
What you can do is have dialogue, and I had it when I had my art gallery, man. It was a brother there that was gay, and of course we have family and stuff like that. But what I'm just trying to say is that I was trying to be tolerant. I didn't want to shut down my gallery.
I guess.
So, but when I end up becoming a situation, though, you see what I'm saying? Because in his mind, although mine was trying to keep as a friend, he's attracted to me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I may not be. I don't know that. I'm talking to him regular, right? And then he's like, well, once you come in, I see you do photography. Why don't you take my picture? And I go in. I'm like, fine. I'll do your picture or whatnot for like some little postcard or something. And then next time I go there. And I see how he's behaving, how he's drinking his soda, doing stuff that men don't do. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
So, and the point what I'm trying to say is that then at that point you realize that this relationship is not like a relationship with my best friend. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is almost like a relationship with a female, but it's not a female. You see what I'm saying?
It's exactly right. And you know what's interesting about this, though, Rondell, is, so here, most of my Christian friends, not all of them, by the way, I'd say it's about 60-40 now, still will say that homosexuality is wrong and that marriage should be a man and a woman. But I'll tell you this, I don't know any of my Christian friends who are openly hostile or mean or cold to homosexuals. Now, I know people are, but I don't personally know anybody like that. But here's what I do know, is a lot of my homosexual friends are very mean and very spiteful. And they're very hate-filled towards people who merely say that Christianity says and teaches that homosexuality is wrong. And they will destroy people. And that, to me, you are what your fruit. God tells you, you will expose yourself by your fruit. And what I'm seeing in the homosexual community is a tendency towards fascism, hatred, shutting down speech, and that's not the values of an American. So I know that the homosexual community is always talking about how everybody's hating on them, but I'll tell you, in my lifetime, I think it's switched. I think it's switched, man.
Yeah.
I think they've been persecuted in the past. I think they've been hurt, and I think they've allowed that hurt to turn into bitterness.
Yeah, and don't that kind of makes you feel this, you know, in any group of people that's been oppressed. I think that they hold a certain hostile, you know what I'm saying? You can tell, like, when your son is mad at you, you're like, man, I can tell you feel some kind of way, but he don't want to look it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
My point is that, I think that some of them, not everybody, they're just extreme anyway. You know, if they're going to a costume party, they're going to be in the pink. They're going to be in the wings flying off the back of their jacket. Some people, they're just going to be extreme anyway. So if you take that person and you put him in a political power, he's going to be extreme in that too.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But the problem with that is, you know, like we're always, you got all these people talking about Sharia law. Well, Sharia law basically says it's my way or the highway. You know, you're going to do this or there is no other way. You know that Rastafarian artist you're talking about and all these businesses, and what's different about the way the gays are doing things, man? It's like their way where they will shut you down. They will throw you in prison. And by the way, guys like you and me, we're not even trying to deny them services or anything. We're just trying to have an opinion. If you're in front of me as a homosexual, I will and have treated you with utmost respect. How come I have to be villainized? I'm very troubled by that as an American.
Well, I think as Americans, man, we just got to wake up and realize the power that we have and start using it. And that's the vote. And when I mean the vote, I don't mean just political. I mean in every aspect of our lives. I'm talking about TV, right?
You're right.
With your television.
You're right. With your dollars, with everything.
Yeah. Vote for where you go spend your money at. Vote. That's a vote.
I totally agree with that.
I tell my wife, man, when I'm watching the TV program I don't like, I turn it so they don't get my rating.
Me too. Me too.
She's like, you think they care about the little stupid rating? I don't care. They're not getting my rating.
No, but it does matter, Rendell. It does matter. Look at what 6% of the population has been able to do, not only in legislation, but with power and money. Listen, if people of values, even if every parent in this country right this second who believes that what we believe about raising our children, if every single one of these parents said enough with this garbage on television, enough with the sexuality of women and teenage girls and all this crap, you would see such an enormous change in our culture. But people don't do that because they all think, oh, what does it matter? Well, it matters. And I think the gay community proves that it matters. And I actually think that we're mistaken by not thinking. I wholeheartedly agree with you.
It's an attack on the family. It's
a spiritual thing too.
It's a
spiritual thing.
And when you say hitting spirit, and I mean no harm or anything against gay people, because I think people are people and everyone deserves love. But only thing is that I have a situation with it. No, when that becomes an infringement on our own lives. You see what I'm saying?
And you know what's really sad? You know, it's never been more good for a homosexual in the United States of America. You can be what you want to be. For the most part, people are going to celebrate you, love you, look at you, an individual, laugh at you. And you know what I think is going to happen is I look at Russia, right? And I mean, it's just because you and I pay attention to global politics. But think about this. So Russia for a long time had a very similar attitude towards homosexual as America. You could get up, you could be gay. And then the gay community started pushing really hard in their culture, started really pushing legislation, and Vladimir Putin and a whole bunch of politicians saw it as an option, saw it as a way to to like appease the masses, and they knew that the homosexuals were a minority. So they came down with a populist message that was very against freedom. And I disagree with Putin's attitude towards homosexuals. I don't think you should be persecuting them. I don't think you should be punishing them.
No.
I don't think they should be thrown in prison. And that's what they're doing. But I warn the gay community in this country, they're still very much a minority. And if they keep doing what they're doing, they flirt with the possibility of some politician or something that wants to exploit differences getting up there, and there's still an enormous amount of people that do not want their children to be seeing gay nonsense on TV and all kinds of stuff. I had this conversation. This just goes to show you that I mean what I say. I was having dinner. I was at a dinner party. 4 of the 7 people I was having dinner party with were hardcore homosexuals. And I said this to them. I said, guys, you don't pay attention to politics. I do. You guys might be pushing too hard with this stuff. And every single one of them was like, I haven't thought about that before. That could easily happen.
The program Empire right now is supposed to be big right now. Everybody's watching and talking about Empire. Yeah. I started watching it a long time ago because I'm not for the show. I think it's
because of the values
for our society. Yeah. Man, it's horrible. But I said it last year. But I told my wife last year that this year it's going to be 10 times worse. She watched it the other night. She came this morning, and my wife never likes to tell me I'm right. She said, Rondell, you was right, man. I can't even take it no more. It's just filthy now, man.
You know what's interesting? Why is it like that? It could be a good show without being that way. I always wonder when they have a good concept, why do they got to be so filthy about it all?
Because people respond to controversy. They respond to it. They want it. That's why rap got hardcore. That's why movies are so violent.
That's right. I can't disagree with that. Hey, man, great conversation.